So I want you to imagine being lost. I mean, truly lost. Not for a day or a week, but for nearly a decade. This is an incredible story about survival against all odds. A story that takes place over 9 years on one remote island with the fate of 134 people just hanging in the balance.
It's a really chilling thought, isn't it? What happens when the world just stops looking for you? While you're out there, fighting every single day to stay alive, holding on to any shred of hope you can find, back home your family has been told you're gone. What do you do then?
Today, we're going to dive into the absolutely unbelievable journey of Flight NC16002. It's a story that has everything: a catastrophic event, the sheer power of human endurance, and a rescue that honestly defied all logic. It all starts with a routine flight and ends as a legend. So, let's set the scene. Our story begins on a dark night, back in 1948, over what is probably the most mysterious stretch of ocean on the entire planet.
And here's the thing, it all happened so incredibly fast. At 8:13 p.m., the captain radios in about some minor technical issue. No big deal. But just 1 minute later, one single minute, the plane, with all 134 people on board, just blinks off the radar, right in the heart of the Bermuda Triangle, and then just silence.
On board the plane, it was absolute chaos. They were caught in this bizarre storm that came out of nowhere, a kind of vortex that just killed all their instruments, the compass, the radio, everything. The plane wasn't being flown anymore, it was just being thrown around in the sky, completely blind, until it finally broke through the storm, only to be plummeting towards the ocean.
Just when it seemed like it was all over, the co-pilot spots an island. They were going down, and they were going down fast. But then, in this 1 in a million, you can't make this up miracle, the plane doesn't smash into the ground. It crashes into this colossal ancient tree, and its branches actually catch the plane like a giant net. I mean, it was a terrifying, violent crash, but it was survivable. Every single person was alive.
But surviving the crash wasn't the end of the crisis. Not even close. It was just the beginning of a brand new one. The disaster in the sky was over. Now the long, brutal fight for survival on the ground was about to begin.
The reality of their situation hit them like a ton of bricks. All the concerns of the modern world just vanished. It all boiled down to the most basic human needs: finding water, food, and shelter. And the most urgent problem? There was no fresh water in sight. On top of that, people had serious injuries. The food from the plane wouldn't last long, and they were surrounded by a jungle full of plants that could either feed them or kill them.
This slide really shows you the razor's edge they were living on every single day. Tragedy struck almost immediately. A man ate some unknown fruit and died, which understandably created a lot of fear. But then you get this amazing moment of triumph. A teenager uses his glasses to start a fire. A huge deal. It meant warmth, cooking, and most of all, hope. But then despair creeps right back in when 5 desperate people build a raft and are just lost to the sea. And while they were fighting for their lives day in and day out on that island, the outside world was making its final decision. After a massive $45 million search turned up absolutely nothing, not a single piece of wreckage, the U.S. government officially called it off. To the rest of the world, everyone on Flight NC-1602 was gone.
But as days turned into weeks, and weeks into years, something started to happen to the survivors. The constant, unending stress of their situation started to wear them down. That unity they had at the beginning, it started to crack under the immense pressure of being so completely and utterly alone.
This timeline really tells a story of incredible hope and just gut-wrenching heartbreak. A year and a half in, a baby is born, a real living symbol of a future. But by year 2, that hope is shattered when a massive boat they built is destroyed in a storm, taking 16 more lives with it. By year 5, with resources getting scarce, the little society splits in two. And by year 7, only 82 of the original 134 were still alive.
And this right here perfectly illustrates the conflict that tore them apart. On one side, you had Captain Miller, who believed they had to keep fighting, keep trying to find a way off the island. On the other side, a different group started to believe that this was their new reality, that trying to escape was just a recipe for more heartbreak and death. It wasn't just about strategy. It was a deep, philosophical split on how to even cope with being so hopeless for so long. And as if their own problems weren't enough,
One day, a search party stumbled onto something that would just haunt them. They found the ruins of some long-forgotten civilization, and inside a cave, a human skeleton, lying right next to the rusted metal from another, much older plane crash.
I mean, can you imagine how devastating that discovery would be? It was like staring at their own future. They weren't the first to crash here. Others had come before them, and others had died here. It must have felt like a curse. Was this island just a tomb? Were they all just destined to become the next skeletons in that cave?
So, after 8 long years, it really seemed like their story was coming to its tragic end. But the very same forces of nature that had stranded them there were about to deliver one final, unbelievable twist.
First, a monster of a cyclone ripped through the island. It completely leveled the shelters and everything they had spent years building. Their spirits were just broken. And then, just weeks later, as they were trying to pick up the pieces, the very ground beneath them started to shake violently. It must have felt like the end of the world. But this final act of destruction is what set the stage for the miracle. The earthquake actually shook the plane's wreckage and jolted the old radio. And at that exact moment, a rare, massive solar flare was erupting from the sun. This cosmic event supercharged the atmosphere in just the right way to create this perfect, temporary window for a weak radio signal to bounce all the way back to civilization. It's just unbelievable.
A few days later, the engineer, Arthur Vance, was just poking around the wreckage, and on a whim, he flips a switch on the broken radio, and he hears a crackle. His heart must have stopped. He scrambles to connect a few last wires, and for the first time in 9 years, a little green light flickers on. He grabs the mic, and with a trembling voice, he breaks 9 years of total silence.
That one, faint, almost impossible message set in motion one of the most incredible rescue operations in history. And it marked the beginning of the final chapter for the survivors of Flight NC-16002.
Let's just take a second to look at the numbers, because they really lay out the human cost of their 9 years of survival. Of the 134 people who boarded that flight, 21 were lost in escape attempts, and another 31 died from accidents and illness. In the end, 82 people, 82 souls, made it home.
Their return absolutely stunned the world. Can you imagine? Families who had mourned them for 9 years were suddenly reunited with loved ones they thought were ghosts. The story became an instant legend, and a year later, it was all captured in the best-selling book Lost in the Echo, which made sure their 9-year ordeal would never, ever be forgotten.
So why does this story still matter so much? Because the story of Flight NC-1602 is just this profound testament to human resilience. It shows us what we're capable of, not just physically, but psychologically, our ability to find meaning and purpose even after something so traumatic.
In the end, their story really leaves us with this powerful idea. After 9 years of unimaginable hardship, their rescue, which was born from a destructive